Good evening and welcome to our Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting for this evening. I now call this meeting to order. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? Seeing none. Okay, may I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you. Sorry, Renee and Amy. Okay, so beautiful. It's carried. Disclosure of any pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Okay. We'll proceed with the meeting. So number 3, delegations. We have Tim Doherty, who is going to give us a presentation on vehicle charging stations. Tim, at your discretion, if you could fill us in, please.
Hear me talk. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for inviting me to speak at your committee meeting. Just in a way of a very brief introduction, my name is Tim Doherty. I've been a resident full-time about 5 years in the municipality, better part of 30 years as a seasonal and a happy camper. That's where I come from. My background is technology and automation. Mind you, I'm happily retired from all of that stuff. But that is my background. I have it's the way my brain works. So I got involved in an opportunity to present electric vehicle charging to the municipality. It started out as my role on the environmental committee and preparing for Earth Day, April 22nd, little pitch. Earth Day in the municipality, we're talking to the 4 schools within the municipality. We've got a little booth set up for Foodland, similar to last year, presenting again the blue bins and recycling in the municipality. No details, they'll all be coming. I don't need to give you the details, they're coming later. We're also planning, or hopefully we'll complete the planning for a reuse resale kind of event where people can bring things. So that's our drive for April 22nd. With that, we've got something called a tree relay doing that. We're also looking at presenting to council before the 22nd, an initiative that allows municipalities to apply for a substantial grant to bring EV chargers into underserviced communities. Well, not communities, municipalities. They have a calculator. It's all going to be on the video, so I'm going to really try to shorten it up, or I can keep talking for far too long. There's a calculator as to what underserviced is, and we clearly are. I think we're at 0 per capita, and I think the number is 1 over 8,600 was considered serviced. It's called Charged for Change. It's put on by, well, actually it's sponsored by Aviva, a large insurance company, and they've contracted a group called earthday.ca to administer it. They're the green folks, they're the people that we've gotten involved with for the tree relays and other things, other initiatives. But once we got to know them, they've got a very interesting concept. They are real. This is the first year they're going to be providing the funding, and it'll be in each of the next 3 years. So 23, 24, 25. At the end, I'll just talk a little bit more. So it's EV charging infrastructure, what that means to the municipality, economic development, certainly the environment, certainly, and there'll be other initiatives and things that make sense. Good for business, good for the municipality waving a flag. So I'm just going to stop, and if we can run the little video. This is the principles behind the organization, and it is earthday.ca.
Can you guys hear the video?
There's no sound.
Okay,
We're working on it.
thank you.
Sorry, can you guys hear that online better now?
I think it's when you go to share it, before you share your screen, you have to click share audio. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, that's fine.
stereo. Okay, let's try that. Sorry about that.
All
Let me-
good.
Hello and welcome to the Charge for Change program information session. My name is Emily Farju and I'm the project manager for the Charge for Change program, brought to you by Aviva Canada and Earth Day Canada. I'm very happy to be here with you today to give you more details about the program and answer any questions you may have. My coworker, Kristen Mullin, Director of Development at Earth Day Canada, is here with me to help with any technical difficulties and monitor your questions as you enter them in the Q&A section of the webinar. She will also help answer any of your questions in the second half of the information session. I'm joining you from Toronto, and I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that the land I'm joining from is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. I also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. All right, I'll start the presentation now, and I will share my screen with you. All right, so as you can see on this slide, the Charge for Change program aims at bringing EV charging infrastructure to your community. And the way it is doing so is through the investment that Aviva Canada will make to fund EV charging infrastructure in underserved communities across Canada. And we'll go back to that a little bit later, but what we mean by underserved communities in Canada are communities that have less than the provincial average in their province in the number of charging stations. Before we dive into it, I wanted to go over the points that we will cover today. So first, we'll talk about the program objectives and the available funding. Then we'll go over Aviva Canada and Earth Day Canada roles within the program. Then we'll cover the advantages for communities and the positive impacts on society and the environment of the program. And then we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of the program with the timeline, the eligibility criteria, and then last but not least, the application process. So to start with, the program objective, the main objective is to fund electric vehicle charging stations in underserved communities across Ontario, as I've mentioned before. And that means that for that, $750,000 per year will fund EV infrastructure for the next 3 years. At least 3 communities per year will receive funding, with a maximum funding available for each community being $250,000, covering 100% of the project costs. Now, if the community project costs are low, more communities will be able to benefit from the program. Note that preference will still be given to communities that can maximize funding by installing more chargers. Now, as I said, the program is brought to you by Aviva Canada and Earth Day Canada, and I wanted to go over the roles of each organization within the program to clarify everything. So Aviva's role will be to provide the fund for the Charge for Change program, and they will also be a member of the selection committee to choose which community will receive the funding. As for Earth Day Canada role, it's more on a daily operation management role, which, for example, is to provide information sessions like this one, but also provide support to applicants during the application period through a dedicated email that Kristen will put in the chat for you. And then Earth Day Canada will also be part of the selection committee to choose the beneficiary communities. And once we move on to the next phase of the program, which will be the construction of the charging stations, Earth Day Canada will remain there to provide support and check in with the communities to see how the projects are going. And finally, it will distribute the funds once the projects are completed. So now let's talk a little bit about the advantages for communities and what positive impacts on society and the environment the Charge for Change program will bring. So by financing 100% of the project costs for the community projects, the program will help remove the financial barrier for communities to install EV infrastructure. And that will lead to supporting citizens in transitioning from fossil fuel vehicles to electric vehicles, because we know that for individuals, the transition to EVs is a little bit maybe concerning. They fear that if they switch to EVs, they won't be able to charge their vehicles after. So being able to provide the funding to the communities to provide the infrastructure will get the ball rolling, if you will. And then by removing the fossil fuel vehicles off the roads, we will reduce the GHG emissions overall. So now if we move into the detail of the program, which I'm sure you all want to know about, the program was launched in December last year, with the application period opening on January 3rd this month. And the application period will remain open until March 22nd. Then we will move into the application review period and the selection of the beneficiary communities, with a public announcement that will be made before Earth Day, the week of April 17th. After that, from April to the end of the year, this is where the EV infrastructure construction will happen. And from January to March 2024, this is when the funds will be distributed to each of the communities that were selected. Now, you may notice the asterisk there on this slide. It is because this period may vary depending on when each of the projects are completed and when the supporting documents will be received by Earth Day Canada. Now, the eligibility criteria are available on the Charge for Change program website and also in the application guide that maybe some of you have seen and read. But I wanted to take some time today to go over them with you to clarify anything that needed to be clarified. So the first eligibility criterion is that the project must be located in the province of Ontario. For 2023, the program will be only made available to communities in Ontario, with a possibility that in the following years, the program will be open to other provinces. So make sure to come back again in 2024 when the program opens again. The second eligibility criterion is that the applicant must be a municipality or an Indigenous community with less than 100,000 residents, and that there must be less than one public electric vehicle charging station per 8,610 people within a community. And that is the provincial average for Ontario. So that's what I was saying before when I was talking about the underserved communities. Communities need to have less than the provincial average to qualify for the program. Now, I wanted to take some time here to talk about what is a public electric vehicle charging station, and within the program, what we mean by a public electric vehicle charging station is the fact that a charging station is open to the general public. It doesn't really matter if the charging station is publicly or privately owned, or if it is on a publicly or privately owned land. What makes it public is that anyone and everyone can charge their vehicle there. Now, the next eligibility criterion is that the applicant must be able to satisfy legal, insurance, and other regulatory obligations with respect to the installation, use, and maintenance of the EV charging stations. And the applicant must also be able to submit all project costs and fulfill its initial financial commitments as further discussed in the application guide. So what we mean by submitting all project costs is that quotes of the anticipated expenditures must be submitted during the application process, and fulfilling the initial financial commitment means that the costs will have to be paid upfront by the communities that apply, and they will get the funds once the project is completed, as I mentioned in the on the slide for the timeline earlier. Continuing with the rest of the eligibility criteria. So all project sites, in particular the electric vehicle charging stations, must be branded with Aviva Canada and Earth Day Canada branding, and those will be provided to the selected communities. Now, this next point here is to make sure that when the project is being implemented, it is not breaking any environmental laws. And it is something to keep in mind because these laws may change, depending on the site that the project will be built on. So that is something that you will have to check site per site. Now, when it comes to the infrastructure itself, the charging station needs to be a permanent installation. It can be either mounted or fixed, but it has to be permanent. It needs to be a new charger installation, be certified for use in Canada, and it needs to be a standard level 2 charger. Level 3 chargers will not be considered for this program. And finally, the chargers will have to be able to communicate through wireless signal on status and report on usage and other capabilities. Finally, the last eligibility criterion is that the projects will have to increase localized charging opportunities in one of the following spaces, and it's not limited to those, but we're talking about public places, on-street, multi-unit residential buildings, and workplaces as defined in the application guide. So finally, let's talk about the application process, which is, I think, the main reason you're here. So this process is a two-part process. The first step will be to fill out an online form available on the Charge for Change website. And Kristen, again, can put the link in the chat for you there. And then the second part will be to send supporting documents to the dedicated email address that you see on the screen. And those supporting documents are detailed below as well. So we will need a detailed project budget, a quote from service contractors to substantiate the expected project costs, and finally a list of the specific locations where electric vehicle chargers will be installed. So with that said, this brings me to the end of the presentation, and we will now move on to the Q&A period.
All right, so what was presented on the screen was by a young lady named Emily. She's based in Toronto. This initiative is for now strictly in Ontario. When I say for now, for 2023's application, and clearly we're not going to make that 2024. It's going to be a little broader. I think it'll be a little more challenging to be the winner next year, but that's okay. I should just look at my notes. See? So it's Charge for Change. She brings it forward as a municipal initiative. There's lots of reasons to do it. And there's always reasons that maybe you don't want to do it. You want to think a lot about it. And the one that jumps out at me was you got to put your money up front. Okay, they don't just give you a check and say, go do what you want with it. Not unlike many grants in other initiatives. So that's hanging out there. The location where you place these things, there'd be a lot of discussion, I would think, that I want one, I don't want one. So that all has to be ironed out. Kind of got next steps. So certainly this is a big step to start to bring it forward and to say here, these are the things that are going on. Using this type of video says it's real and practical, at least I believe it to be. So the next steps really is now we're going to have to present to the environmental folks of our committee and then to council, and we've been asked to bring it to council. So basically we're just telling everybody this is out there, and at some point there will or won't be a motion to council saying we'd like to participate and we'd like to get this application prepared, and we would put staff's time and volunteer time into making that happen. So you can see they're alluding to a professional project that is going to require proper quotations, RFPs and RFQs and all that good stuff, and do it correctly. There's financial things that have to be looked at. There's probably legal things have to be looked at. And it sounds like a whole pile of work, which it is, but the next application deadline is January 2024. If we had been 12 months in the past, we would have been applying in January 2023. So as always, it sounds like a lot of time, but it isn't. It's always going to creep up on you. And if this is something we want to do, or something we don't want to do, I think that has to be determined in short order. Developing a project, my background also is in project management for some fairly large projects. So I kind of get the steps, but I'm not staff. I'm the voluntold, but be happy to present the concepts. And I'm sure it's done in the municipality all the time. Project management, and somebody in one of these offices are going to know exactly how to do it. So that's important. It's a real project. Got to understand the real costs. $250,000 is a really large amount of money until you start to do the work. So far, I've seen prices for just to purchase the EV chargers of $6,000 to $12,000 plus the electrical aspects of it. So, you know, the $10,000 to $20,000 per charger, I'd say, is not out of the question. Do we put 25 chargers in our municipality? I'm not going to say not to. That sounds like a lot. Maybe it's not enough, but in any case, those things have to be understood. There's some potential for public-private investments. Whether you want to bolt one to the food land wall, then the food land would have to put some skin in the game, I would suggest, and say, we're participating and here's how we're going to do it. That all comes later, but those are things that have to be discussed, and then the locations. You can put 25 of them in the food land parking lot, and that's not logical. You can spread them throughout the entire municipality. That might be obvious and be logical, or you got to put it where people are going to be. And from my thinking, bringing it to this committee early on is really important, because you can understand why having a charger in your front yard, in your parking lot, on your restaurant wall, or wherever is important, and why you would ask council to support it or suggest that it's of no value to you. So guidance to council. So locations are going to be interesting. If we put one at one lodge, for example, there's going to be 25 more lodges saying, me too. Maybe that's exactly what we want to do. Maybe it's not. So some discussion has to be had, and some logistics are important. That's all that I really wanted to say today. I've had 2 discussions on the phone with this group. They're real. I like them. They're innovative. They seem to have a lot of money backing them up, which is always good. And I'd take a few questions if there's any. And that's it for me.
I'd like to say thank you for your presentation, and I appreciate, I found it very, very informative. I would like to open the floor up if there are any questions for Tim directly with regards to the potential of installation for these electronic or EV chargers in the municipality or in this area.
So Tim, are you able to get that credit application that they have with outlining all the different things that they're looking for in an application? You have it?
I get a pretty good voice, but not for them, eh? I have a copy of it. I've seen it. What it likens to is pretty much a standard project where you're dealing with electrical and mechanical and infrastructure. So when they want to know about CSAs and ULs and all of those things, there's a kind of a laundry list that they're suggesting, but they also put things in order. And as I was picking out queue up on that, is I could fill out the application today and send it in with no authority from the municipality would be illogical. To have the municipality say, this is something we really want to do, then we'll put the energy and staff time and volunteer time into making that happen. How's that for an answer?
That's good. I was just. It's just curious to see, like you said, we could spread these out throughout the municipality. So the project allows different locations, like 4 units here, 5 units there, allows us to approach businesses
Yes,
to see if they would.
and encourages it, the way I heard it. What I was asking them for is, give me an example. Who's done this? So I can just speak to that municipality. And it's not awarded yet. It's brand new.
Yeah,
So they don't really have that juice, but in some conversations in our committee, we said, let's think about what is our municipality, and we'll put 2 at the Hungry Bear and 1 at DD's and 1 across the street. And if you start thinking about where that would make sense, where do people go? And we're not in the business of supplying electrical chargers per se. We're in the business of advancing our community. It's not a lecture. I don't mean it that way. I was thinking it's starting to
no,
sound like
no,
one.
I understand.
But-
And then the people pay to charge their vehicles, right? So that offsets the cost for these businesses
You could-
down the road.
You can offer them for free if you like. That'd be.
Somebody's got to pay the cost of that hydro.
There's always a cost. Some of the charging companies offer various programs. One particular company, quite large, they'll turnkey do everything for you for a fee. They let you decide how you'd like to collect the fees from that charger by the kilowatt hour, right? Put a meter on it. The more you use, the more you pay. Flat fee, 10 cents a minute. I don't know how to make any sense. 10 cents an hour, some particular number, and you can make that decision. It's got obviously some type of a computer within it. What I thought was interesting and possibly would be practical is the offer a thing where it's 15 minutes for free. First 15 minutes are free. Next 30 minutes are at some cost, but after that, it gets more expensive because people will park there all day, right? There's a parking space. So there's various ways of doing that. It can be credit card tap, debit card, all of those point of sale type functions are built in.
And then another question I would have is, so say the municipality applies for this grant, we get the grant, we do this, we install these throughout the municipality. Who then is in charge of taking care of these
You bet.
units and for how long and how many years? You know what I mean? Is it the next 10 years? Are we liable for 50 years?
I hear you.
Does it become the, you know, the location
If
priority? They
If I
must have
was-
guidelines on that.
you and I were sitting down and we're going to draft the RFQ for the installation of this, but we're going to say contractor is required to provide maintenance for 3 years, warranty coverage to the company, the ongoing needs of the machine. So I think we would build it. I would suggest you build it in the form of a contract where when people bid on it, it'd be 3 different electrical contractors and, 1, 2, and 3, they can each bid on it. They each give you a price and terms and conditions determined by us. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. It could, I know. Like I said, in my background, we've done, we've done multi-million-dollar projects. Some very important to the stakeholders and put it down in writing. This is what I want. And sometimes you'll be surprised how big that number comes back. But at least you'll understand it. That's my encouragement there.
Are there any further questions?
I have one question and one comment. Am I allowed to ask questions? Okay, just checking, first time. What is involved? I hear you, Tim, around the kind of ongoing maintenance and, warranty period for whoever is awarded the contract to install these things. But in addition and outside of that warranty period, what does maintenance look like? Like, presumably we need to make sure it's somewhere where snow is cleared so it can be accessible. And maybe those are some of the criteria you would have to set out when you're picking where you put these things, because there are organizations in our area that are obviously not even open year round. What does maintenance really look like even beyond a warranty period? Just curious.
Just from my background, I look at it like an ATM machine, it's just something's got to sit and live in the temperatures. It's got to, it's not simply done. You have to provide that infrastructure. These things are networked, they're Wi-Fi, and our experience with Wi-Fi, they're great till they're not. So that's a downfall, something that has to be maintained and managed. The electrical supply, definitely, I've already thought about the snow cleaning. You don't just put this anywhere because the snowplow will take it out. And you got to give them a break because they can clean it appropriately. Some of the pictures that the big players in EV charging put out, there's a concrete curb arrangement where you can't drive into this thing. It's like a V shape where you just can't do it. So there's a lot of thought been put into the installation, but you're absolutely right. There's lots to talk about, and it's not real simple. But I'm certain these are all things that we could handle. And I'm sure there's other parallels in the municipality, things that have been done that were complicated. So my best answer.
Thank you. I've actually never used one, so I didn't know what is required, and then if it doesn't work, who calls them and who arranges those things. So thanks so much.
You're welcome. I think maybe a gas pump might be just as simple an analogy as anything. When you pull up and you handle your card with it, and the bells and whistles are going off, and you supply the
There's
service.
usually a person there.
Well, sometimes. That's true. The city of Sudbury has done all of their parking downtown now on these machines, and they took a lot of flack for parking meters, like lots. And in fact, I couldn't operate one. This isn't me, so it's got to be done right, or we're killing time.
Go ahead, Amy.
Is there any business model that's out there for how many cars it takes to service to pay off the unit? Like as a business owner, if I'm gonna agree to have it on site, but I'm incurring the costs of insurance for liability, how many cars do I have to service to get that cost back over time?
I don't have that answer, but rumor has it, we've had some discussions in our environmental committee. It's Dave, somebody help me. I'm gonna look right across. Thank you. Yeah, he apparently has looked into it. So there's discussions in the background. I personally don't have the experience. But I would be happy to go chase that. And I could, through you, Mr. Chair, I could bring it to the committee if I, does that make sense? Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you. I see Manny has a question. You're on mute.
Like, I'm sorry, like gas stations, like Natalie had mentioned, most of the liability would fall on a gas station or a private establishment. What would be the exposure, even because this is endorsed by the township? What would be the liability or exposure to the township? And would the township have to put anything in place for its protection?
I would suggest yes, there would be liabilities, whether they're encompassed in existing insurances and things, or whether it have to be add-ons, but great question. And it is absolutely something that needs to be dealt with before a commitment would be made. So that's
Thank
what,
you.
okay.
I do think it's a really good idea. Like I have to say that in concept, I think having EV charging stations makes sense since it is the way of the future and there's a huge push. So there's definitely a need. I guess it's just a question of where and how that need is met and whether that's something the municipality wants to take on through this process, right? But there's no question that it's not a bad move. From a, encouraging tourism and encouraging people to visit. It's an important piece of infrastructure.
Yeah, we called it a waving a flag, and everybody that has an EV car is going to have an app on their phone, and it's when they're coming down Highway 69, it's going to let them know, or they're going to ask for it, and they know that they can drive in 10 minutes, stop, get fuel, get electricity put in their car, and maybe have a sandwich or a burger, or drive in, groceries at the food land, and paint at the hardware store. It starts to connect into their world. Waving the flag, I think, is great. The other interesting thing I discovered with this program is there's nobody north and east of Owen Sound that's done this. It would be a pretty nice statement to make that we're innovative, we're environmentally conscious, and a lot of good things we could say about our community. Now, monetize that, I'm not sure how, but it still would be a positive, I think, for the community.
Any further questions? Well, again, Tim, thank you very much. It looked like you put a lot of time and thought into this. What I will ask is we'll get the staff to take all the information that you have. We've made note of all the questions. We've had a really good discussion. It looks like there's a lot of traction with respects to this, and we'll bring it back to next meeting for consideration. So with that being said, I'd like to bring it to number 4 on the agenda, the adoption of the minutes. So I'd like to ask, are there any changes to the minutes? Seeing none. Okay, may I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes?
Might be challenging because I was the only one at that last meeting. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Okay, Renee moves. Can I have a seconder, please? I'm going to pick
So
on,
this can be anyone, just because we need to table the minutes of the meeting to be accepted, to move on.
it's carried. Like to move on to 5.1, Community Vision Plan. I will now ask staff to present the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you can see in your agenda package, there was just a brief summary of the council visioning plan, which will cover this term of council and leading into the next term of council. So the point of bringing this to the committee is to provide information on the logistics of creating this visioning plan and to get the committee's involvement. So the process is that the municipality is seeking proposals from qualified consultants to help us conduct the visioning plan and all the information gathering that goes within that. The community visioning plan addresses both internal organizational capacities, including the maintenance of existing services across all of our departments, and considers external challenges and opportunities as well. The plan is to support growth, fiscal responsibility, and a clear path to achieving the municipality's goals that are going to be identified within the plan. The plan also must focus on identifying high and mid-level priorities to adjust challenges identified in existing reports, studies, and documents that will be provided to them by staff. And this will all form part of the planning process. So the plan is going to ideally explore a variety of themes. We're going to look at commercial, retail, industrial activity, regional tourism, recreational opportunities, local agriculture, residential housing, and development. So the sector-specific master plan should be visually engaging, comprising details, text reports, accompanied by professional graphic renderings, just so that once the plan is ready to be shared with the public, it's easily understandable across all avenues. So the budget and legal implications. So staff is going to prepare the application to FedNor to help fund the plan because we'd have to pay for the consultant to help us through this process. So once we put the application through, which will come after we find out how much it will be to have a consultant, we'll have a better understanding as to how much funding we would need. Once all of that is confirmed and in place and we have a consultant, this committee is going to form part of getting all the data collection and reviewing all the information with respects to helping the professionals. So as you can see in the conclusion recommendations, it says that EDAC members, as well as municipal staff, will assist in providing input and the logistics of implementing the surveys, public consultations, any community engagement to ensure optimal participation across the community. Once staff has received the proposals to choose from, the information will be shared with the committees to make a recommendation to council for the award of the contract. Once the contract is awarded, the consultant will work with staff and committees on next steps. So this is just a very initial preliminary, let you know what we're doing. I also provided the draft request for proposal in the document. The meat and potatoes of it is really towards the end of the document on page 19 of your package. So it'd be Schedule A specifications. This is what the proponents would be responding to in providing us information as to why they'd be the best person to take this on. So if you had a chance to review it, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, please let me know.
no questions? Thank you for presenting the report included in the package. This was for information only, and therefore there is no action required at this time. I'll ask again if there are any questions. Seeing none. So, okay, then we'll move on to 5.2, and 5.2 is information regarding community, senior housing. And I will now ask staff to present the report.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is another report for information in regards to bringing seniors housing capabilities to our community or providing the housing opportunities in an affordable fashion. So it was identified through the Manitoulin Sudbury District unit that there is a rising increase in the amount of senior housing that's needed for rural communities. With the rising senior population, this is something that we would like to look into because it's becoming more and more evident that the boomer population is retiring and looking for more affordable housing with their fixed incomes. So in the request for proposal that was attached to this report, we're going to solicit project proposals for new construction of affordable seniors housing from developers and encourage them to engage in working with our local non-for-profit organizations in acquiring land, identifying specific needs, finding financial solutions for affordability, and providing a business plan, marketing plan for the project to ensure financial feasibility for the community. So as you can see in the image 1 there, it says the ages between 55 and all the way up to 74. Those are going to be the age group that are going to be moving into that retirement kind of stage or looking for more affordable housing in the next couple of years. So that's kind of the demographic that we're focusing on, and that's the population within our municipality for specifics. The budget and legal implications. So the goal of the request for proposals to seek development partners to bring this investment opportunity to the community and fill the gap for affordable seniors housing through partnering with the municipality or non-for-profit agencies. This will allow the developer to apply for funding through the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, so CMHC. Who will co-invest the fund for new construction. So us getting involved with the developer just allows them to access that funding. To make it more affordable. So our conclusion is that we're seeking committee input and discussion around the development of affordable seniors housing project for the municipality of French River and any recommendations to be considered in the preparation for the request for proposal to be submitted.
Thank you for presenting the report included in the package. This report was for information purposes only, therefore there is no action required at this time. Are there any questions? Seeing none. We'll move on to 5.3, information reports. Okay, sorry. Accelerated high-speed internet program. And I will now ask staff to present the report, please.
I think this is my last time speaking this time, so I'll make it brief, but this is just an update with the federal funding that was approved for our area to bring in high-speed internet to the area. So this is part of the government's plan that they were providing $4 billion worth of investments to support high-speed internet infrastructure across Ontario. And the goal is to bring a 50 download, 10 megabytes per second upload to the majority of the homes in the area. So on November 30th, 2021, the Ministry of Infrastructure issued the Building Broadband Faster in Ontario guideline, and it includes the new best practices and processes and timelines for right-of-way and hydro-pole attachments, and basically just how to install the fiber optic cables within each community. They passed 3 major legislative frameworks to help them expedite the process. And staff at the municipality is now working with Bell, who is awarded the contract for our area, in helping them pass any easements or requests that they would need to help them install the infrastructure. So in conclusion, a meeting was scheduled yesterday for us to get an update, and unfortunately I can't share any of that with you because it is all confidential at the moment, but once it is available, I will share it with the committee.
Thank you for presenting that report. Again, this report was for information only and therefore no actions required at this time. I will ask, are there any questions? Seeing none. I will move to 5.4. And this is going to be an introduction. So I will ask staff to present this report as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to start by saying I'm happy to engage with all the new faces of the Economic Development Committee. I'm here to introduce myself and my office. So hello, my name is Sebastien. I'm the Economic Development Officer for the municipalities of French River and Marks Day Warren. And I represent a non-for-profit organization based in Sturgeon Falls called Economic Partners. We're also a Community Futures Development Corporation, which is an initiative of FedNor. But to keep things simple, we provide regional funding programs such as small business loans and equity investments to new and existing businesses across Sudbury East and West Nipissing. So my primary function here today is to show support for the Community Visioning Project. And as the document stated, the consultants will have access to municipal staff and myself to help engage in the development of that plan. So that's a project that I'm looking forward to supporting. And of course, if anyone has contacts or connections in the community regarding people that need business support or resources, feel free to send them my way and we can continue to encourage economic growth in French River. So once again, I'm happy to meet everybody and I'm looking forward to continue seeing more economic growth in French River. Thank you.
Thank you for introducing yourself to the committee and summarizing your projects and initiatives. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none. I'll move on to 5.5, which is OPP Noëlville Detachment closure. We'll get an update from Mayor Pageau.
Good evening, everybody. Not sure that if the new members are aware of what's happening, but the OPP senior brass, as I call them, have taken steps now to proceed with the closure of our Noëlville detachment. And of course, that's not going over too well. And as it affects not just French River, but it affects St. Charles, Killarney, and Marks Day Warren, which is part of Sudbury East. We started a campaign to put a stop to it. We've enlisted the help of our MPPs. Frangelina has an online petition going, and certainly we encourage everybody to sign it. I believe she's up to 1,500 signatures, and we'll be representing it to the House. I believe she told me at the end of this month, so very shortly, to bring an update and to force the Solicitor General to comment as to the reasons why they are closing. We've also started with the businesses through the Chamber of Commerce, Sudbury East Chamber of Commerce, a letter campaign going to the commissioner, the deputy commissioners, the civilian deputy commissioner, and the northeastern superintendents, chief superintendents, and the superintendents. It's been a struggle trying to get the OPP to cooperate, because one of the things we wanted to do was to send the letters directly to the commissioner's office and the deputy commissioners. And unfortunately, we couldn't get the addresses from them, but that's okay. A challenge is a challenge. We managed to find the addresses, and the Chamber of Commerce is distributing all those addresses to everyone. It's really important that the businesses especially engage in this campaign, the letter campaign, because I believe they'll have quite a bit of influence in the decisions where the ministry notes are going to be presented. The folks have been terrific. The support is immense. And I believe that closing the OPP station will have a detriment to the economic development of the 4 municipalities. Last night, SEMA, which is the Sudbury East Municipal Association, met, and they are continuing with the support of the campaign. There will be some submissions being written to the OPP so that they completely understand the reasons why it's such a bad idea to close it down. If you think it takes a long time to get some response time, imagine now that the officers will be deployed either to Sudbury, our officers, so that we have 10 officers for Sudbury East. Those will be redeployed to Sudbury or to Cache Bay. And even though they say we will be serviced, experience from other municipalities who have been subject to detachment closures have unanimously told us that it's been worse. And so we're gathering data, and once that data is collected, we'll be submitting our submission to the OPP. So for this committee, as the Economic Development Committee, I encourage for you to reach out to all your contacts and to write letters of support for keeping this detachment open. And if you haven't received anything from the Sudbury East Chamber of Commerce, let me know, and I'll have Jill send you the information. But certainly, we need every business on board to sustain our detachment. That's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for providing this update on the developments for the Noëlville OPP detachment closure to the committee. Are there any questions or comments to this committee at this time with respects to this? Sorry, I got the sun. You got to.
When is that closure supposed to happen?
Well, it was supposed to happen on June 30th of this year. However, through our intervention, all of us, it's delayed now. And if it has a 20-year delay, that would suit me just fine. But
No kidding, for sure.
yeah.
Thank you.
So the June 30th deadline date is now canceled. And there's sort of backtracking saying, well, it really wasn't a firm date, but I know for a fact that it was a firm date. So now it's no longer a firm date. And the more proactive we are, the better success we're going to have in keeping the detachment here.
Thank you. Caitlin, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you're able to, I did receive the email from Jill from this Chamber of Commerce. I've tried to write my letter like multiple times, but I'm struggling because the facts that you've just shared, I didn't have those, and I really wanted to be able to include some of those. Would she be able to forward some of that meat and potatoes information to the businesses so that that can be used within our letters?
Yeah. Did she not set out I sent her some information about, it contained about 11 points as to the reasons why we should keep the detachment open.
Okay, I'll reread the emails. I've got a couple from her. I did get the one that had all of the email addresses.
Okay.
I'll go back through it. If I don't see what I'm looking for, I'll email you.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, deal.
Thank you. We will move, if there are no other questions on this topic, then we will move to item 5.6, and we'll go to the roundtable discussion now. I must apologize. I was so eager to get this started, I forgot the introductions. So I'll start with myself. My name is Willie Schneider. I'm the counselor for Ward 3. I've been a small business owner in the area for 20 years this year. In the resort-based business outfit. I have a place on the French River. You've already introduced. You can. Anyone else want to go?
Hi, my name is Minani Buffalt. I'm the clerk for the municipality of French River.
My name is Renee Carrier. I'm counselor in Ward 6. Raised in Noëlville my whole life. I work at the case, but I've worked at numerous places, the gas station, pharmacy in the past. I'm on many committees, so a lot of people know me.
Amy Shopman. I am a owner of a medium-sized family-owned business, which is 100 years this year. Very passionate about my community and to help improve it.
My name's Caitlin. I own Great Escape Cabins. We're coming on our 5-year anniversary for that. And I'm really excited to be part of the committee. So thank you.
Thank you. And my apologies. Oh, see, I forgot again. And if we can please have the people introduce themselves online.
Well, I'll go first. Gisele Pageau, Mayor.
Hello, I'm Manny Figueredo. We, myself and my family have been seasonal residents for the last 9 years and just absolutely have fallen in love with the French River. And even though we're not here full time, we do call this home. And we hope to be here in the next year or two full time. Thank you.
Natalie Price Day. Nice to meet everyone. I am a somewhat newer property owner in French River. I'm trying to transition to full-time actually resident. So I'm very excited. I love the area and I'm really happy to be part of this committee.
I'm Carly Bigra. My title is Executive Coordinator with the municipality, and within those tasks, I help with as recording secretary at this committee as well as the Recreation Committee. So my normal job title, I help with projects within the municipality and coordination between those projects and departments.
Thank you, everyone, for that. And I hope you overlooked my misstep. I look forward to working with every one of you for their duration. I believe the duration is for 4 years. And I hope many good things will come of this committee. So I now open up for roundtable discussion. So this section is used for the committee members to bring economic development items to the attention of the committee for discussion as information or for future actions, endorsements, approvals for next meetings. Each member will be given 15 minutes at most should they want to present to the committee. I would now like to start. If anyone wants to participate, anyone have anything of interest to bring? Amy?
So when I was first introduced to this committee, I mulled it over, had some thoughts, and I feel a personal goal of mine to get involved in, as I have a background in agriculture, is that there are so many locally sourced things in our community, such as like lettuces, mushrooms, the honey, that it would be nice to have a local place to sell all of our local goods, as it would support many things, as like decrease the carbon footprint where we're not trucking in lettuce from California and things like that. And it would support more local people and become an income for smaller families. So that's my passion, and what I would like to work on in the next 4 years is to network with all of those local farmers on how we could make that work.
Are there any questions or comments to that? I think it's a great idea. I think becoming more self-sufficient and lowering that carbon footprint and drawing on our neighbors for support is a really, really good idea. Growing things locally, making things and manufacturing things of our own. So moving towards that end, I think is a great idea. Anyone else?
To comment on that?
Absolutely.
I know that I saw on Facebook, West Nipissing and actually St. Charles, there's a farmer's map going around that people have actually joined and put a tick on the maps. And that's something that I don't know, a lot of the local farmers have put their ticks on. So maybe something we could share on a site or something, on a municipal site, right? When people are coming into the area and looking for different kinds of either meats or vegetables, and they could, pop into this map and see where to go to help support locally those farmers. So I think it was great, whoever came up with that idea. It's a good idea.
Any comments on that? I just want to speak to that as well. Being, owning a resource-based business, it's always nice for my customers to have something to do while in the area. So having those activities highlighted as such is a tremendous asset to those individuals who come in. They don't just want to sit in a cottage or sit in a boat all day long. They would like to participate in the community. So having those avenues, I think, would be a tremendous asset. And also getting them immersed and interacting with our community members would be great too. Any other ideas? Anyone with their hand up? I got the sun in my eyes, so I apologize. That's it.
Oh, wait.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just waiting for everybody to go first. I just want to say, I love that, Amy, I love the idea of what you suggested. And I think that this committee has a big role to play, especially in the visioning plan that's going to come up, and that perhaps could fall into one of the priorities when we're moving forward with our community. I looked at our seniors housing and even with Tim's presentation today on the vehicle charging stations. All those things will fit very well into the visioning plan. And I see the Economic Development Committee taking this on and moving our municipality forward over the next decade or so. And it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, as long as we keep our OPP station open.
Single-minded, single-driven. I love it.
I just had one comment. If
Absolutely. Go ahead, Caitlin.
I just had a thought for Amy. In my old hometown, our grocery store owner would source, because came from farming community, all local produce as much as possible, and had little signs in front of that produce so that you knew going into the grocery store that he has supported local and that you're purchasing local. The only thing you're saving time on is having to actually go directly to the farm, but then it's supporting those small businesses. So I don't know if you talked to Vince to see.
So that was step one, was to ask co-op if they're interested in supporting such a
Yeah.
venture, as I know they're ruled and regulated by the big commerces like Sobeys and.
This was an independent.
Okay,
So
like,
I don't
so they're
know
first,
how much
yeah.
with the produce end of things, how
Mhm.
much leeway they have, because a lot of their flyers do have that ad of we support Ontario
Yeah.
farmers and things like that. So they might be able to.
For sure. Yeah,
kind
it'd be
of make
nice to
more of
have a
a-
section of the store devoted to local
That would be amazing.
and have it grow from there.
Yes.
So that's step one for sure, is to ask him.
Mhm.
I'll, one final call. Any further comments? Then with that, I'd like to thank everybody for their input, their comments. I will ask, we'll take your questions and ideas, and we'll bring them forward and keep them alive. We'll bring them for next meeting for further discussion and cultivation. With that being said, I think I will move to adjourn. Oh, absolutely.
Just to let you know, tomorrow at the gallery at 11 o'clock, La Société Économique de l'Ontario, which is a French economic association that promotes young entrepreneurs in the area. Well, in our area, but across Ontario. They are having a presentation. They got a grant from FedNor for a new program that they're going to be promoting with young entrepreneurs through their Genino program. So that's something that our community and the young students around here can look forward to, that they did get funding to help promote not only in the arts and that, but also entrepreneur in the business world. So that's something good for the future for our younger generation. We know a lot of the businesses out here are locally, a lot of them are generations of family owners, and our future often depends on our younger generation taking over our businesses. So it's nice to see that the younger generation are actually, going to be learning things about business and how to, we'll create some sustainability for our future and the area. So just a good thing that's out there.
Sorry, when was that, Renee? When is the event?
It's tomorrow morning at the gallery at 11 o'clock. They're having a presentation. Because with COVID and everything, they weren't able to do the presentation where the funding came from and stuff. And the new program that they're announcing, the youth entrepreneurship in business world, is their new program that they are working on right now presently. So that'll be introduced to, and that I believe runs between, if I'm not mistaken, 15 to 30 years old is what they call a young entrepreneur. So mostly the kids in the area from the high schools and that attend there or close by. So, and I know they do work with a lot of the programs that we have in our community. So it's good it's a good project.
I have one final question. It's going to make me look bad. I've lived in the area for 20 years, and I'm wondering if there's a collective spot to gather the information and what's available in the area to do. So would there be an app that one could visit while in the area and see local events readily, all in one location? If not, would that be something to consider, maybe crafting something? I'm traveling to the French River, I pull up the app, and I have everything listed, events and things to do.
So what we can do, we do have existing through the municipality to advertise. We have a community calendar and as well as our notices on our French River app, which is advertised through our website. But we can work at maybe doing a little campaign or something to boost that information. Again, when the app came out, which was a couple of years ago, we did do a big campaign, put posters out in the mail out. It's in our newsletter to let people know that that information is available to them. The other part is that a lot of people don't know that if they want to advertise something, that those mediums are available to them to advertise community events. So we can maybe look at doing a better job at getting both of those pieces of information out.
Thank you. Amy?
On that, this QR code is like a big thing. Could you guys maybe create one for like window stickers to put in businesses' windows, like scan me and it'll like bring you directly there?
We have two QR codes, but we can maybe make decals for windows of businesses. Absolutely. It's a good idea.
Anything further?
So just on that note, the people doing events need to go on the municipal site and upload their event. That is how the events are. That's how they go on the calendar. So if people don't know about putting it on there, it doesn't pop up on the event on the calendar. So, and that's one thing that, we could spread the word that if there's an event, please let the local groups know, go and put your event on our calendar. Because that's a big issue. Like right now, there's a lot of events that aren't on there because the groups are not going to put the information on there and there's no cost to it. So it's just spreading the word.
There's someone at the municipality that's like a go-to, like call this person.
That's me.
That's Carly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm everything website and social media. So it's info@French River. If they want to send the information in, all that information's on the website as well. But people do have access to upload all of their information as well as any poster attachments, images, that sort of thing.
People can do that themselves.
Yes, they're under.
I
our
love the app. I do love the app. I just haven't had to promote anything on there.
You can upload it through the app. You'd have to go to the website to upload it. It's just the functionality of the app is limited. But if you go on the website, it would be under notices and events. And then there's another separate page that you can select that says add an event.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to reassure all the. I know. It's not communicating. All the local groups at some point, the nonprofit groups or the organizations have been informed of how to add to our website, their events and all that. But of course, reminders are good and some of the volunteers have changed. So it would be a good thing to re-promote it and
to contact them.
Do we have, or is there, and I apologize for this question, but is there a, some kind of digital, sorry, my dog, digital marketing strategy for the municipality?
There's a communications strategy. It just keeps it general for all sorts of advertising mediums. And on there, it says that as the municipality gets information, we vet through it to make sure that it's appropriate to share. But there's really not a lot of limitations, but the policy is available on our website under bylaws and policies and governance. But all of the information would be within the communications policy. It's just, it provides standards for how we release information, share information.
Thank
But-
you. for
No
that.
problem. But as for a marketing plan on how we send things out, it hasn't gotten to that extent, but just the policy is what we have for internal purposes.
I think that could be an area like there may be an opportunity for greater partnership with some of our local businesses, and in particular, I'm picking on tourism, but I like the discussion earlier around agriculture. But certainly creating some kind of buzz to attract tourism, or even just put it out there. Because I have to say, when I talk about French River, people know of the provincial park, but they don't really understand how amazing it is here until you talk to them. And then they're like, wow, really? They have no idea. And over the last year alone, I think I've had at least a dozen friends who have come up and stayed at different resorts in our area, and they had no idea it existed. You know, so I just see tremendous opportunity there, not because we want to become overpopulated or something like that, but certainly to drive local economy. I see huge potential with that.
And that's exactly what I experienced. I was so busy working on property the last 20 years, I never got off. Other than raising my kids and going into town occasionally, I had no idea the resource and the people and the culture of this community. It's incredible. And I agree, it has to be shared and that story has to be told. Anything further? I would like to thank everybody for their participation. I think that was a great roundtable. Manny, you got your hand up? Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I was a little late. It's funny, today I was down at the Toronto Cottage Show. And as Natalie was speaking, I think we might have a lot of opportunities in promoting the French River outside of the French River. Down there was a lot of promoting Perry Sound District, Simcoe County District at the show. We might want to look at that too, in promoting outside our own areas. Like for instance, the Toronto Cottage Show. I found that really interesting that aside from, you know, all the vendors there was a lot of exposure to our surrounding municipalities. So I think that might be something we could look at also, is promoting with outside our area.
Yeah, I think that marketing, like that's why I was kind of thinking of marketing, just because of my experience in other public sector and not-for-profit areas. Like it's a huge untapped resource if you know how to kind of work that. And I think our community visioning plan and some of the work you guys have already been doing to brand the municipality, huge strides. And so I'm really excited to be part of this committee and to see kind of what happens next. Because I think we're like on the cusp. Like there's a lot, you know, as our mayor was saying, you know, in play right now. And it is a question of how do you share that beyond the world to kind of help beyond our little perfect area of the world, I should say, for others. I think there's a huge opportunity there.
With that said, I think there's enough discussion on this that we should maybe revisit this at the next council and discuss some of the hurdles or things to move this agenda forward, this item forward. I'm thinking of finance and other things. How do we fund these activities? So these are discussions that I think we can probably move forward on with the next meeting, if that's okay. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for the participation. It was better than what I expected. A lot of great ideas. There's a lot of passion moving forward here. With that being said, I'd like to move to adjourn the meeting. So if I can have a mover and a seconder.
I can move it.
No, I'm not a member of the committee, sorry. Thank you.
Mayor, would you, no?
Doesn't do advisory members, can they second things? I don't know what I can do.
Yes,
Yes, absolutely. Members of the environmental economic development committee can move and second. It just means that you're agreeing to table what needs to be moved and seconded, items on the agenda kind of thing for discussion or adoption or whatever is being asked at the time. So anyone can move and second on any item on the agenda.
So did someone move already?
Caitlin did, yes.
Okay, Caitlin's, I'll second.
Thank you. I was picking on Mayor because she's always getting me. So I thought I'd pay back, but not this time.
Nice try, Willie.
I'm always trying.
I know, that's good.
Thanks to everyone online. I'm just going to let you know that I'm going to end the meeting now. So it was nice to meet everyone.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
Thank
Back
you.
in the
Good night.
pool.